Thought I'd make another video. Just got out of the shower, kind of clean up a little bit, feel refreshed after basketball dribble workout. Check my heart, see if any vital organs or anything is taking some serious damage, function, everything seems pretty normal. Anyway, so I wanted to talk more about a few different topics. I guess I'm going to have to make two separate videos on this, and I'll make the same video on this. And when 9/11 happened, I remember the exact place that I was. Whenever, like, within 2 days that it happened, everything kind of went crazy shit. And I remember being 16 years old, and they had me at Sequoia Academy. I went to two different boot camps, and Sequoia Academy was more lenient, more educational, and then the other boot camp was just brutal. That was more like just disciplinary action, like boot camp. But they strained us pretty bad over at the other boot camp. And I talked about this black guy who was like kind of real thick and hoggy, kind of like just chunky, like not like necessarily fat, like almost kind of like a power lifter guy. And this is the beginning stages where they thought I was, because you never know a teenager when they want to come out or when they're scared or nervous, either with girls or their sexuality because they're gay, or they're just straight, just really shy. And by this time, I had already figured out seemed to be some sort of encrypted code that, entrance where, okay, well, there seems to be a pattern going on here that, doesn't seem to be happening, and I'm not sure if females understand this entirely, or in any straight males. And I remember him going to his car, like I saw Marco, and he kind of looked at me, like he was looking at his phone as I was walking out, and he was like, this guy's fucking smarter than I thought, because I remember how he was behaving. When he told everybody, and he was sitting at the, giving a speech about, not a speech, but he was kind of at the counter, just having conversations, and he goes, there's bodies burning everywhere, and he was the guy on the tank, and, he was in his 40s, retired, and he had his pension and just doing his little part-time job there. So they pay really well. Like places like that, they usually pay like extraordinarily really well, because you're helping teenagers, and it's a lot of places because you're dealing with delinquent teenagers, and you're also you have to deal with potential violence and shit. So they usually pay like juvenile hall attendants to people, the guys that stay at juvenile hall. Yeah, usually those guys, they get paid like $20 an hour minimum. That was back when I was a kid, and that was like a fortune. Getting all the overtime just sitting there. But I recall him getting in his car, and he looked at me, and he kind of looked at me like really surprised, because he did have a compassion side to him. And I remember the focus was kind of like, he kind of put his hat and kind of looked goofy, and then, and like kind of sort of wanted to deliver a direction, and that it's okay. And I remember after a couple of days, the other guy said, yeah, he's a lot smarter than he looks. And he didn't say anything, but he said it real out loud, but I knew he was talking about me. Anyway, I remember I was only there for, I think, like 3 weeks, maybe a month. And I went there more than once, I think. It wasn't more than a month. Could have been more. They usually send people for 6 weeks or so. You got to finish your weeks, get signed off, and that you got your credit for. So I remember being in line and knowing that my father had spoken to the president and 9/11 happened. And I remember being in line, and I knew that they were structurally setting me in these positions, because at that time I recall feeling, I wouldn't say just feeling, it was like an acknowledgement that I hit the mega billions. And when I say this is not a good thing, Mega Millions, I was fully aware of it. I hit the Mega Billions for something of this level of tragic. I knew that somebody was likely to probably give a shit to some extent, something. And I didn't know anything about the Hollywood. I didn't know anything about her house. I didn't know anything. But I took it as a very direct way to respect what power isn't mine, and such a tragic terrorist attack, on innocent people, because even when I was in class, and when I saw the buildings sort of collapsing, people jumping out, the reason why that I positioned myself, I kind of did this and kind of was thinking, it wasn't because I was scared, it was because I was thinking of the people that were trapped, that couldn't come down, and they were trapped and were going to burn alive. That's what I was thinking, because the people that were trapped, you weren't, that you that's what I was thinking of. And I also thought of and I was thinking, well, I was like, great, I'm dealing with people that are crying and dying and all this other shit. Now I have this on my plate. And I was like, well, more responsibility I gotta do. But as in a token, I think it's more of like a duty of spiritual religion to, respect the entity of what we think human beings have souls, and to respect that as much as possible, and move forward in a direction that you have a normal life. Because I know that if everybody that is watching and is probably going to do the spying and shit, you can have a normal teenage life. You can have your sort of functions in life. Tragic accidents happen, you're more likely to shit off the wall, if you fucking know about information about this, because you're going to be fucked up. And I still had the same problems even when it was all fucking over. I still had depression at times, and I still had but I recall thinking to myself that this was sort of a Mega Millions lottery that I got selected. I didn't feel special. It kind of felt like, okay, well, God's putting a responsibility on me. This is what I have to do. How well will I respect this? So, and I remember them making me shit. I was waiting in line, and immediately like that, as soon as they shot this electronic device to make me shit, I know my guts and intestines. Immediately, I knew, fuck, they have me on lockdown. And I wasn't scared. I was like, damn, they have me on lockdown. Secret CIA agents, I was like, shit. Oh, fuck. I was like, damn, they may kill me and shit. But was I particularly scared for my life? No, I thought that if I respected it enough, that my life would be spared. Because somebody else's mistake by making a phone call or just by random, and then I get connected to that, doesn't entitle me to that. And that's what my opinion is of that. Is you have to understand there's more of a conversation you can have about this, because the obstacles of everything that goes on in life as a teenage life can still go in the normal directions of living a normal life. It's just respect that, and whatever anybody's actually watching over us, then good, but they know, okay, well, if you want to do drugs, you do drugs. You're making those choices. If you want to take ecstasy and go to a fucking club and rave and have a good time and then OD and die, well, you're still making those fucking choices. But it's you're having some sort of supervision and all these things that are going on. So I thought it was important for me to talk about, because I remember being at Sequoia Academy, because Chris Martinez lived on Sequoia Academy. Sequoia Street, and Sequoia is a Native American Indian name. It's like a tribe, or it's like a Sequoia was like a Indian, some sort of Native American Indian tribe, something similar like the Osceola Trail. And I remember I lived on Osceola, and they would drop me off. He goes, "Hey man, he lives on, don't you live on Sequoia?" Or yeah, he lives like right by on Sequoia. So I lived on Sequoia. And I didn't live on Sequoia, but I lived just right, like literally 50 feet from that. So, and, and this is somewhat during the era. After that, that's when I started to talk to Lisa, and that's what I want to talk about more. And, she was, she was a jewel mine. She really was. She was a jewel mine. Let me make this very clear. This was not a controlling situation. She called me, and I always called her most of the time. And the Pleasants were very comfortable, very soothing. But I was not in any way over controlling. There wasn't any. Because I was told that, I knew, to my understanding, she stayed in her room a lot, like locked up in her room. And she had a very big room, girls' room, a lot of big ass room. And, I remember talking to her. When you're a teenage kid, and you get to like the first base, and then you get to like second base, and you hear the girl that you like talk about, like, oh, like one time this guy, like, he took my shirt off, and he didn't take my pants off, he took my, you just want to go ape shit. You're emotionally, mentally just destroyed. Like, the precious, sweet titties, like, totally, you're devastated in a way, because just the freshness of this. And anyway, but I was respected, and she said she was a virgin, and I acknowledged it very well. She took her virginity pretty serious. She knew, she hadn't told a whole lot of guys, but she knew that was a prized possession that guys wanted. 100%. It was her being a virgin, and when I talked to her, I remember she needed the words to, like, give me 50 feet, like that old song back in the day. And I think that was like where Silk the Shocker or some shit was sort of vibing, still popular in those days. And I had a conversation. I know this sounds racist, because I met Michael Jackson, right? And I remember telling her, because I knew that I was Mexican, right? She told me, like, right off the bat in, like, our first one or two conversations, she was into Mexicans. And she went to a highly populated Hispanic school, so that was probably one of the reasons why. And she said she would with a white guy or whatever, and I asked her, I said, well, would you ever get with a black guy? Yeah, black guys are hot. I was like, what? She's like, you're beautiful, look at you. You said you can get with a black guy? Like, and her dad, let me tell you something about her dad. Her dad had bloodshot red eyes, a raspy voice, and I'm not kidding you. This is the first impression that I got from him. He had a shotgun waiting in his closet for a guy that was going to fuck with his daughter. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, he looked like a guy that had a shotgun in his closet for sure. Somebody that fucked his daughter, like wanted to fuck with his daughter. I'm not joking. His eyes were bloodshot. He had a raspy voice and had a crazy look, like that was his princess, And I was a little nervous because I was kind of looking at him. I felt like this guy had a shotgun. I got this huge, like, this guy has a shotgun somewhere ready. This guy not you want to fuck with. And, but I, shared a few words, and he sort of gave me sort of a legitimate kind of, well, he doesn't seem too bad of a guy, but he acknowledged his presence without a doubt. And definitely, she talked very well of her dad. She talked very well of her dad. She really loved her dad. But I don't know what her dad did for a living. I don't remember. I'm sure she told me at some point. But I know her mother wasn't involved. And I talked about this on other videos and shit, and I'm repeating myself too many times. But, I told her, I kept on telling her, and, you're beautiful. Like, why would you think you have mental problems? And just all the encouraging things you can imagine, like just good stuff. And, I didn't want her, understanding that a girl makes her own decisions, and I know that it goes into more complexity of what your choices are and about the available money, and you got to get them before first and all this other shit. But she made her, I acknowledged the respect of her own decisions, and who knows, maybe the conversation being recorded, you can listen to them then. And that's what I was like, oh my God, it was like, you're beautiful, you can get any guy out there, and you're just gonna get, like, because she listened to this, like, give me 50 feet, and kind of, seemed to find a fond to that. But like I said, I remember her sitting on a couch, and she was in pajamas and this little tiny t-shirt, and she looked like, I remember it looked like a jewel mine to me when she just showed up. And I didn't say anything. She approached me. Like, she showed up, went, sat on the couch, and sat there, like, waiting for me to talk to her. Like, it wasn't me giving her googly eyes and all this other shit. I saw her once or twice walk inside the house, and she immediately, girls pick that up very quickly. But, she knew a lot of guys wanted her virginity, but she was a blonde girl. She was a natural blonde girl when she grew up. She had blue eyes, real light skin, 100% model. If you would have seen her when she was younger, man, like, she had an ass, like, built. Like, she physically was, like, built. And, beautiful, long, strong hair. And, but she had like an eye that was pretty bad that was kind of tilted pretty bad. Not bad, but I never saw any difference in her. Never did. Never saw any. I didn't. One of the reasons that I think I could never express in my life how much Michael Ross her for weeks, and I don't know how to express how somebody invades your space so much to a degree that you look back and you kind of think, like, how the fuck can anybody have that much intuitive, I'm going to tell you who you have sex with and who you don't get. And that's how he was. And John Basile didn't like it either. I could tell that, without a doubt, it was like cherry picking, But, there's people that ends up being a little bit more softer than those, and who's directed. I was nervous if John could fuck her, that's for sure, But I do recall, I do recall, if a girl, says no, doesn't not interested or some shit, after that number of tries that I tried, then try again 3 months later, then try one more time 6 months, and that means no. So I don't know really what to say about that. There wasn't a controlling situation. It really wasn't. I really feel that it was something else. Could it have been a mental trigger? Could it have been? Could it have been someone else? Yeah, because there wasn't enough. The conversations were very pleasant, and so her hair was still like a light colored brown, not like Michaela's, but like a light colored brown. And she was like an all natural blonde too. She grew up. She's like a kid. She told me, because most blonde hairs, usually go brown, turn like a brunettes as they get older, and natural. But yeah, I don't know whatever happened to her. I hope the best. And I don't know, kind of repeating myself too many times, but I've always believed that when a girl says no, that means no. If she is not interested in you, she's not interested in you anymore. And you have to leave that alone. You have to. There's an extent of chasing the girl and not ever giving up and all this other shit. But there's an extent to to me at least it was that way. And you don't understand the determination of what Michael had in his behavior was so manipulative and overbearing. It's hard to express, but you don't give a shit. Whoever it is it's too late and everything's gone. But I could have gone to her house, and I thought about going to her house, and but I didn't want to invade her space, so it was just kind of okay. Well, good luck. Take care. That was it. But I remember kissing her, and she held my hands and sitting on the couch. I didn't think she'd just want to get up and leave like that on me, and I don't think she did that to other guys. I don't know the story to it. I don't know the behind story to it. So, but at the time, I was having my own dilemmas as well. I could never express enough that John Basile and Richard Murphy didn't like that shit. It's very difficult to express it whenever your friends are supposed to be like, oh wow, he's a cool guy because they know then you're approved. When a girl sees that you're approved from your friends, and you have a large group of friends, those are major points because it shows a lot of task, conversational allies, support and agreement, and that's something that's very important to women. But they were acknowledging that I was friends with them, but they weren't. I could tell by looking in their eyes when I talked to them in front of her, they weren't looking at me to give me some sort of hey Hector support. It was more kind of you're one of them or some shit. Look, but that's the way that it was, and I know her brother. I smoked weed with him once or twice, and he knew I was talking to his sister too, and I don't know if I remember said something to him. I don't know if I ever said anything to him about it, and I think I did. I want to say that I think I did and acknowledge it to him when I was smoking, because we're smoking a bong or some shit like that, and he goes, yeah, my sister told me you talked to her. He goes, yeah, and I goes, yeah, I talked to her once in a while. I was kind of nervous because I was like, that's her brother, and he was a little bit older than me, kind of pretty skinny. He had looked like he had military jeans. He kind of looked military-ish, like someone who kind of took some pride in some American. There's a certain type of style someone lives, kind of like Jeremy skinny, but more athletic built and more into his own world, kind of Kurt Cobain kind of vibe a little bit. But I remember I did talk to him and smoke with him. He goes, yeah. You talking about? Yeah, no, you're talking to my sister, right? And he looked at me, kind of, just talking to me, and didn't shoo me away. Whatever. but he acknowledged himself without a doubt, and but I thought I'd say something. I do recall many years ago. I don't know what it was during that time. I remember I was told that John Basili went over there one day, and I was always scared of this. You understand? I was nervous and scared of this. Of some other guy snatching her from him. Like she sees a bigger guy, built, who has a car, and bada bing, it's over. I'm thrown out of the picture. So I knew I had to talk better. And I remember, I don't know what the story was. John Basili and Michael went over there, and I was told, I don't know who it was. I don't know if she told me. I don't think it was her, but said that John Basili was screwing the hell out of Anna. It was Anna. It was an Asian girl, Filipino girl. Anna, John Basili, and Michael. And I'm going to say, I think it was Michael the one that told me this. And he said that, yeah, we went over to Anna's, dude, and her brother got real fucking pissed off. Like, he was real pissed off because John Basili took her over there. And I don't know what the story was. They were on drugs. I don't know. I don't think Lisa was there that day. Could have been. And that Anna was there, and he was screwing the hell out of Anna on her Lisa's brother's bed. And he found out and was fucking enraged, pissed. Like, you just bring some girls, fuck some girl on my bed and take off. And he was mad. And that's what I do remember. That he fucked some girl on his bed and he left. And I remember him saying that. Michael telling me that. So anyway, I told her, asked her, I said, did you hear anybody? He goes, no. So I don't think she was, because I want to say, I think I mentioned it to her just to see if it was her, just in case. But she said that she didn't hear or wasn't there. And I think I asked Michael, was it Lisa? Are you sure he was, and and he goes, no, it was Anna, because we were in there, and it was Anna, the Asian girl. So I thought I'd have a conversation about this, about what was going on, and anyway, at that time, it wasn't over the years that I didn't really think of her and talk to her. It was just let it be to that understanding, because there was so much triggering. There was so much regret triggering with Susie. Intuitive too, because she was more my skin color, hair color, and she was shorter. Definitely, guys think to themselves when they see a short girl like that, you can deep fuck them in a way that's very different from a larger girl. And personality was very attractive, and Lisa's personality was extraordinarily attractive as well. But she definitely always seemed smarter to me. If it were to come to, she seemed very, very smart, very intelligent. She seemed like she was in control. Like, she very much seemed she could be in control, without a doubt. Because she had several guys, and how I talked to her when she had a guy bring her flowers and shit like that, but anyway, I thought I'd talk about that, and it all ended. So I'm 41 years old. You live with regret until they tell you it's not regret anymore, and then it's psychology, learning lessons and all this other shit. So, that was, I remember just thinking to myself, that was a jewel on the couch. Like, at that time, because I wasn't ever being allowed or being introduced to new girls, ever. There's just something that Jeremy, Cisco, Nick, Richard, John Basili, Anthony, I was always seen to be either pushed away or not invited or deterred from meeting new girls. And they knew I was likely to go to a white girl. And I knew this, and it continued even after I was in my 20s when they started throwing parties and I never got a phone call when they would bring white girls over there. But I knew that was an issue. Even they were friends with me, but there was just that sense of it a little bit. There was a fraction of sense of it. And, for me, I recall, there really wasn't, even especially with Anthony, meeting, these females. So when she showed up, it was like, I just remember it was like a jewel. Like, it was like a jewel. I was like, this was a jewel that was sitting with an opportunity. This can't be. How can a girl this good looking, this attractive be sitting on a couch with pajamas on and a small t-shirt? This is fucking impossible. Like, and she's a virgin? Like, this is some crazy shit. I just remember her get up and sitting on the couch, confidently walking pretty quick, sit on the couch, watching TV, and just with her feet up on the couch, kind of doing this with her watching TV. And I recall talking to her and just thinking, like, there, when you feel in the sense of somebody's hovering over your, since like Michael was at that time, and it just isn't good because you knew there wasn't going to be approval from him, but I didn't give a shit, and I knew there was going to be a problem. So I still need to navigate. I don't have my own turntables, but you're using my house and you're bringing drugs, but I still want to have a good time, but you just don't want me to have any pussy over here. So, and anyway, I thought I would say something about this, but I guess one of the reasons I want to talk about this a little bit more is because I saw some people over at Walmart and two little black kids, and it looked like a little bit kind of like her. You know what I think, and the reason I say is because I saw Lisa many years ago when I went to, when Lawrence, Kansas. I thought I saw her there. I walked by and she looked like she gained a lot of weight, and I saw it and it was her, and I don't even know why. I kind of felt like I put my head down and kind of giggled and like, wow, she's so pretty, and I sort of just walked away. I don't know, somebody was shooting me. I don't know why the fuck I did that. I don't know why the fuck. I don't know, I guess I hadn't seen a real woman in a long time. She looked like she gained a significant amount of weight. Still beautiful. She still looked, her face was so pretty. She still looked the same to me. Those light-skinned girls like that, they don't ever age. They tend to age very, very, very well than any other skin tones out there for some reason. Age incredibly well. But, yeah, but I don't know what the situation was, what that life was, kind of all, that's how it goes. So, I don't know what careers, school, she wanted college. I think there was somewhat, she didn't seem so desirable to college at the time. Very smart, and that grades were in school were important. And I thought it was worth me talking about, and she knew a lot of the rap songs of hip hop, quite a bit. And, that's kind of how the story goes in that particular situation. You know, it's. I wish it would have gone different, but you know, the older you get, the less you remember from what happened when you're 15 and 16. You know, it's the same thing. I used to talk these wisdom stories with my father who raised me. What the fuck do you remember when you were 15 years old? What do you remember when you were 7? What do you remember when you were 20? You remember less and less in details, and you just remember small fragments of it. But did you live it during the moment? I did. So the very small glimpses deteriorate pretty fast. And I didn't have mine. I didn't have anything, any experiences. But that's the story. And hope she's doing well. Hope God's blessing her. I do hope that, you know, somebody is out there blessing her. I don't know if she went to school, her family, her kids. You know, there's a lot of... I don't think I ever told her about 9/11 over the phone. I don't think I did. I think I wanted to tell her, but I didn't want to scare her. I wanted to tell her, but I didn't tell her because I didn't want to scare her. Yeah, I didn't want to scare her, so I didn't say anything. And but that's the story. So hopefully she's doing well, healthy and strong, enjoying life, being more happy and more pleasant and more blessed. Stay safe.